Yo, what's going on, people? Between the Game Sports back again. Got another great show coming you guys' way. But before we get started, if you're on Facebook, like and share the show, like and share the page. And if you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell button to get those notifications every time we go live. But like I said, another great show coming, great content. This time we're out in Los Angeles, California, home of the LA Clippers, excuse me. And today we have with us the skills and development coach with the Clippers, Coach Chad Bell. Coach, what's going on?
Not much, man. I really appreciate you having me on the show.
Anytime, man. I reached out to you, said let's do it, so we jump right into it. So tell us a little background about yourself, how you got into all this.
Like you said, I'm a player development coach with the LA Clippers. I've been in coaching 10 plus years, maybe closer to 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
Former player, played college ball, played overseas, played in the G League. Started off my coaching career officially as a grad assistant at the University of Wyoming.
Okay.
And then from there, I progressed on to my alma mater, the University of Nevada, located in Reno, where I played, like I said, and just began to kind of climb the staff there. And then that led me to Southern Utah University, where I was an assistant coach full time. Do everything from recruitment to on-court development to coaching X's and O's, so on and so forth. And like all of our coaches, like most coaches, we get fired. We coach to get fired. The nature of the business. So a lot of times they'll leave you in a very fortunate place, even though you're in an unfortunate situation. So that led me to move back home to Los Angeles, to the Inglewood area. And, just through contacts, I was able to get through the doors and get hired by the LA Clippers on player development. So that's kind of how I ended up where I am now.
Okay, that's a great story. You spoke about playing at the University of Nevada. Not too many people out here in Texas probably know much about it. And, I've done some AAU and still kind of in the game and whatnot. But for people that don't know about the University of Nevada, can you kind of give a description? What's the campus life like? What's the athletics like and things like that?
Well, first off, they should know because, when I was in school, we whooped up on the University of Texas in the NCAA tournament. And then also the University of Nevada played the University of Texas, like I think it was 2 seasons ago, beat them again. So if they don't know, they must be trying to forget. Anyway.
Oh, well, wrong person.
And we've had a few players from the Texas, from the state of Texas, come play there. But University of Nevada, all jokes aside, is a very beautiful campus. Most people, when you say Nevada, what do they think? Oh, UNLV. Yeah. UNLV is a rival school of ours. It's been a rivalry for a long time. They won't call it a rivalry, neither will we, because my generation of Nevada teams, we always usually defeated them. So, and we were, top 25 programs, so on and so forth. But like I said, it's a beautiful campus. It's located in the northern part of the state. So it's about like a 7-hour drive from Las Vegas. People think Las Vegas. No, the state of Nevada is pretty big. So when you think University of Nevada, think northern Nevada, think more mountain areas, think snow in the winter, think those type of things. And it's about 2.5 hours from Sacramento, believe it or not.
Okay.
Well, if you go through the mountains and you drive on the I-80. But it's a wonderful campus. It's a traditional campus. They're doing some really, really great things there. A lot of new buildings there. The basketball men's and women's team have a brand new practice facility there. The football team has great facilities for football, practice field, their game day stadium, locker rooms. The other teams as well have state-of-the-art facilities, like where they train, where they have weightlifting, where they have the medical staff housed at. In terms of academia, The facilities there are state of the art. They have A1 medical buildings and programs and business and journalism and a phenomenal Black student union. I mean, it's one of those places. If I put you on a plane and you land and I take you around, you'll get way more than you ever expected. And that's why the university has been able to have some success and have some, not just in sports, but just in the student life. Students really wanting to come to Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great deal of young adults that are attending this school from all over, from California next door, from down south in Las Vegas, from the Arizona areas, from Colorado, Texas, so on and so forth. And you also have foreign students attending the University of Nevada. So it's been some wonderful things being done at the University of Nevada, not just in sports, but also in academics.
Absolutely. What do you remember? What like the GPA requirements are, or testing scores to get in?
I don't. I do not. I know all that information is online.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, with the athletes, you have to be in compliance with the NCAA. I forget what the GPA is. I want to say it's core 2.5, I believe it is. So it's very close in relations to that. And then of course you wanna go higher so that you can ensure that you get accepted into the university though. But I think it does correlate along those NCAA guidelines.
Okay. It's funny that you said that it snows out there. I was in Vegas maybe about 3 years ago for the summer. I was at some spot and they got to talking about snow. I'm like, man, it don't snow out here. It's just weird, man. I never even thought about that.
It's not in Vegas, but if you get on that highway and go up the 15, go up the what's I forget the highway that is, but go up north where Reno is, you will see snow in the wintertime. You will see snow during basketball season. When you walk into that game and you walk I remember when I was a player, driving up, it's snow on the ground after the game. It's snow on the ground. If we're playing like a team like Fresno State, which is a pretty rivalry with us, they're trying to get the heck out of there because they got to go through the Donna Pass to get to Fresno. So they don't want to get snowed in because if it's too much snow, they close it. So the teams have to stay overnight. So yeah, it's an experience, man. They go through the 4 seasons. The seasons overlap though. So we've gotten snow up there in like the spring because the seasons overlap. Yeah.
Wow. I'm gonna have to experience that one day. I just Texas, we don't really get that type of
action. Yeah.
we might get an inch. We might get an inch, but and speaking of snow, you spoke about you played in the G League and then spoke about playing professionally overseas. You played in Romania. What was that experience like? Between both of those leagues.
It was very, very different. Those G leaguers out there, they know the G League is a straight grind. It's not pretty at all. You're connected to the NBA, of course. You got NBA personnel, coaches and personnel involved, but it's not glamorous. It's for those players who are trying to get the attention of the NBA and trying to prove themselves that they're worthy to play at that level. And it's very competitive. I really enjoyed my time playing in the NBA Development League, which what it was called back then. Now it's called the NBA G League. And like I said, it's a wonderful experience. You had, it's funny because when you play in the G League, everybody has a past and where they came from. So you're playing against guys who were top players in their conference, top players in college basketball. In this, you only have 60 slots for the NBA draft every year. So some guys get drafted early, some guys get drafted middle, late, or whatever, and then you got some guys that were drafted in the second round, still trying to have to prove themselves or go down because they're playing, depending on their situation, they are drafted by a team where, they got to get some reps up. And that's going to the G League, which is the G League is wonderful for that. So it was an incredible experience, and I really enjoyed it. My first year, we were able to make the championship game. We lost in the closing moments of the game, but it still was quite an experience. Playing overseas for me, I didn't do a lot of in terms of playing overseas. I could have, but I always knew I kind of wanted to coach. So playing over in Romania, it was way different than I ever experienced. Europe, so Eastern Europe is a little different. They're going through some things over there at the time. I saw, some poverty. You know what I'm saying? So also I saw like, just families, man, just trying to make it, man, just everyday life trying to make it. Fortunate, the team I played for, we competed in the Euro Cup where we played against some top teams around Europe. Had an experience where we got to go to Turkey and play. But like I said, it was very different. And during that time, this was I want to say 12 years ago. I actually experienced some racism over there.
Wow.
Which was, shocking to me, where, people freely just called, me and my teammates a couple of times just walking to our apartments, the N-word, so I experienced that type of ignorance, and I learned a lot about people, and I learned a lot about how racism exists still to this day, as we've seen. And not just in America, but all across the world.
Absolutely. My friend, I think he played in Slovenia or something like that. And English is not a predominant language, but he said, man, the one couple of things that they could hear and understand was, racial slurs, and it's crazy how Black people or people of color are viewed across the world. It's very unfortunate.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's unfortunate, but for me on a personal level, it taught me a lot. It taught me how, like I said, it still exists, and we still keeps coming up, and not just in America, but all around the world.
Yeah, absolutely. So, excuse me. You played, and like you said, you always knew you wanted to be a coach, and you kind of went through the steps to get to where you are now. Some people, the ordinary fan, might not know what a skill development coach is. I think it's kind of simple if you break it down, but explain to them exactly what your job is as a skills development coach.
Well, a skill development coach are those guys when you're about to watch the game and you seeing these guys being profiled before the game begins, and you see them working with those coaches, going through routines and getting shots up, and those coaches that are working with them, those are usually player development coaches. So our job is to do just that, develop the skills of the player on an individual basis or a small group basis, where our job is to focus on their individual skills and improve on those individual skills. So on a typical day, like let's say a practice day, before practice, if practice starts at 11, well, the floor is open 2 hours before, and it's scheduled. So each player has a predetermined schedule with the player development coach for their court time. Some players might go for an hour, some players might go for 30 minutes. Well, they get that individual attention from the player development coach. And then the same thing happens after practice if they want to continue to get work in with that coach. So it provides the NBA players a coach, like a skills trainer, like you see a lot of skills trainers now. Basically, NBA development coach is like a skills trainer that is with the team, and it gives that player that individual attention and development in that one-on-one time where you can go through, drills and shooting and any aspect of your game that you want to go through. And then at the same time, player development. One thing that's big in player development also is individual film study, so that you can break down individual plays for that player, so that they can see what areas that they can improve in.
Yeah, absolutely. You spoke about skills training is, it's the big thing nowadays. I try to tell these kids to go to the games early and watch these guys go through their individual workouts. Can you explain to them like how hard they're actually going? Like some dudes are out there drenched, like they just played a full game, and the kids are like, man, why are they going so hard? Like, dude, there's a reason why they're there. So can you kind of speak on that a little bit?
Well, that's a great question, and just to explain it, the NBA is a straight grind. I mean, you hear people verbalize that and say that, but I can't stress to you enough how much the NBA is a grind. And you hear kids say it's levels to this. Well, it is levels to this, even when you're in the league. So you might be a younger player and you're not a superstar from day one. You're not a star from day one. You're not in the starting lineup from day one. You're not a vocal point from day one. So you got to work your way up. So if you're not playing, well, guess what? Practices are your games. Off day are your game days, because you're not getting that playing time that you of course want. So when you're working out, those are your games. So when you see players and you go to the game early, you see them fully drenched, because that is their game. That is their opportunity. That's getting them prepared. So when their number is called, now they're ready. If you're not working it in that type of way, then obviously you're not improving. You're not getting better. Okay, so if you're not playing and you're doing the same thing that the guys that are playing, well, you're not getting any game reps. So one thing really important in the NBA is trying to duplicate game-like situations. So when kids come to games early, or they see any footage of guys going that hard, they're literally trying to duplicate a game-like situation. And the more you can do that, the better. Whenever you work out, one thing that many people have to understand, just because you go hard and it's really intense, does not necessarily mean you need to go long. Because a lot of times when you go hard, you're giving everything you got within you, and obviously we're human, we get tired. So to me, you always want to get that quality. So when you see those guys going, that's their game time. It's their game. When we have a practice day, our rookies and young guys, and we throw that ball in the air and we're scrimmaging, doing a team scrimmage, that's their game. Because unfortunately, in some situations, they don't have that opportunity on game night.
Absolutely. I hope people that are watching are really listening to what's going on, what's been said. Again, if you're just joining with Coach Chad Bell, he's with the Los Angeles Clippers skills development coach, and he's speaking about young guys getting reps in and, getting quality reps in, not just out there, half dogging it or whatever it may be. When you go out and you see, I'm going to throw this one out here, when you see a lot of these skills training videos and they're not game related, or what are your thoughts about that? I have my moments where I've done some unnecessary drills on just kind of, get some sweat in. But when you see that kind of stuff, what are your thoughts?
It's funny. People, I have friends in the business, and then just people I know, they send me some videos sometimes, and a skills trainer might be doing something that doesn't translate to the game. It's just kind of busy work. But one thing I would say, in my advice to anybody, basketball is fun and it's a game. And I think in sports, period, sports is art. So sometimes I always do say, and I know I'm playing both sides here, is be creative. But
Mm-hmm.
after creativity, stop. Ask yourself, how does this translate?
Mm-hmm.
If it doesn't translate, I don't recommend that you continue to do it because it's not helping. You don't want to do drills just for drill's sake. You want to do stuff that's going to add to your game and add to your IQ, and also, like I said, duplicate game situations. So whenever that particular player is in a game, he recognizes the situation. Um, Obviously, I think at lower levels for the little bitties, for the very very young players out there, you have to be a little bit more creative, and you can do that and have a whole lot of fun with it. You want to have fun regardless
Mm-hmm.
because you want to keep their attention. But it's always going to be some type of tact involved when you're trying to translate the game. Um, and I think all trainers should always try to bridge the gap between their drills and a game so that it makes sense. And always communicate with the player you're working with so that they can understand what they're doing. And then you as a coach, because we learn from players too, you
Mm-hmm.
get that understanding of what they're thinking and how they're processing it.
Yeah, it's a two-way street, and not just showing them the drill, but also explaining the drill and the purpose of the drill. We have a question from the audience. It says, "Is your professional position an area that women are pursuing at the NBA level, be it men or women's teams?"
Oh, absolutely. I'm very fortunate with my organization to work with the pioneer in terms of NBA women working in the NBA, and Natalie Nakasa, who's
Mm-hmm.
in player development as well, who I work side by side. So more and more women are getting opportunities to work in the NBA, and you're starting to see more and more across the board on teams. When we go on the road, or even at home, I look down on the other end, and you see more and more women beginning to work with teams and get those opportunities. So I'm fortunate to be able to see that with my own eyes with one of my colleagues.
Awesome, man. I didn't know that. I know that the big story a couple of years ago was the Becky Hammon situation with the Spurs. I didn't know that it was growing like that. Um,
Absolutely.
the other thing I wanted to ask was, besides just skills development, what other duties are you in charge of? Like, are you in charge of film, preparing, road trip, scouting reports, anything like that?
I was very, very fortunate to work for a coach who he don't put you in a bubble, don't put a label on you.
Mm-hmm.
His big thing is, yeah, you go on a website and you have a title, but you're a coach.
Uh-huh.
So when I sit in meetings, I'm giving input just like a bench coach. I'm a coach. So with that being said, I had other duties like film duties. Especially when I first started it, when we had opponents, breaking down film or putting together film of future opponent and the teams that they're playing. We call that one-twoing, basically offense and defense, and putting that film together in a package.
Mm-hmm.
I also have responsibility for scouting reports, making sure the details of the scouting reports are put in place, putting it all together, getting it ready. Because as you know, the NBA, you're playing sometimes every other night. You have back-to-back, so on and so forth. So this is an 82 game regular season plus the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of games. That's a lot of preparations. So I've also done offensive prep. Where we have to break down with the opponent that we have coming up, what we want to do in terms of what we run offensively.
Mm-hmm.
What's going to work, where we can be successful at. So when we get to that particular game, the head coach knows his package in terms of what he wants to run, what actions work, what lineups work, so on and so forth. And I've also done the same thing from a defensive perspective as well. So it's a lot to it when you work in the NBA, and it depends on the team and who you're working for. But for me, I've had to do other things, not just player development, and it's great. It's beautiful because it has helped me grow as a coach. And I also, sorry, I forgot to mention, I've also done film sessions with the team as well, where I've run sessions where I go through player personnel. If we're playing a particular team, I go through all their players, their strengths and their weaknesses, and then I also might give a clip where they have a particular play that might be ran for them, or something that we have done against that player that has been successful to kind of slow them down, because you don't stop anybody. You slow them down. So, yes, I've definitely been fortunate to have a ton of duties, and the more the merrier for me, because I just love to do this.
Mm-hmm. It just sounds like your day is full from as soon as you wake up to the time you leave. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah. We have another question. I don't know if you want to answer this or not. If not, I mean, we can jump to it. The question was, how much did you learn from Doc Rivers? I know this situation is, tricky, but if you want to answer it, you can. If not, we can move on.
I learned a ton from Doc. I was really blessed, lucky, blessed, whatever you want to call it. I say blessed. I tell you something. It's funny. Doc was my favorite NBA coach. So this goes back to his Orlando days. I asked myself, who is my favorite coach? Who can I see myself kind of being like? And it's Doc, because I've always admired Doc's creativity, especially in what you call ATOs, which is after timeout plays. Even those days in Orlando, he used to draw up some really cool ATOs for his teams. And then, of course, his Boston teams, just how he coached those teams. He's a great leader, a great speaker. He's great with people, great with players. I wasn't too pleased with him when he was in Boston, because I grew up a Lakers fan. But I've always admired him, and I never would have thought in a million years I would actually work for him. Doc is a good friend of mine, a good mentor of mine, and I tell people all the time, I cheated on basketball life, and how I did that, I got to work under Doc Rivers and literally pick his brain and sit in coaches' meetings with him and ask him questions and learn from him. And mostly, I just watched Doc. I just watched him, because he's in a place that, many of us want to be one day. And you could just learn so much, and you don't even really got to ask questions with a guy like him. You just take notes. I've learned a ton. I went through Doc University. I worked for him for 4 years. I graduated with honors here, and I have all my notes. I love Doc, man. And I wish him the best in Philadelphia.
You're definitely doing it the right way, man. Just when people are speaking that kind of knowledge, man, you got to just sit back and listen and take notes. Who is a better out of bounds, at the timeout person, Doc or Brad Stevens?
Ooh, that's tough. They're both so good.
Brad Stevens is
and they're both similar in a lot of ways, but they're also both different with their creativity. I think they're two artists, and you know what's tough? This is what's tough. Having to play against those two, because you don't know what the heck they're going to run after a timeout. So I'll probably be biased because I work with Doc.
All right, we'll go with that.
I love Brad too, because he's. It's funny you asked me that, because those two are some of my favorite out of bounds plays guys and ATO guys, just because they're just so creative.
Yeah. I watch it and I'm like, man, how you come up with that one? But
yeah,
we have another question. But I'm gonna say that for later from people that's watching. NBA season just ended. The bubble was going on. That was the big story for the summer. Were you down there, and then was it as crazy as the outsiders looking in thought it was?
You know what? I did not go to the bubble. The bubble was tough because with COVID-19 going on, the amount of staff, we have a very, very large staff, and the amount of staff you could take was limited, and it was smart that the league did that. So I wasn't down there in the bubble, so I was working remotely. Still very much involved. We did our coaches meetings every morning on Zoom. I was still in the pregame locker room talks via Zoom. I still had my responsibility via the scouting reports and film clips and so on and so forth. So I very much felt a part of it and stayed connected to our staff and still did my job and what I had to do. Just my thoughts on the bubble. I think it was a high mental challenge where you dedicate yourself to going on a mission, where you have to do something that you never done before. And let me throw a disclaimer out before I say this. It's nothing like it, and it's not what it is. But I'm giving an example. It's like going to war, where you have to be mentally strong, and you have to go down there focused on the mission. And in no shape or form is it the same in what you're putting on the line. But I'm just talking about a mindset you have to have in terms of going on a mission. And that's what, to me, and mind you, I didn't go to the bubble, but that was just my thoughts of the bubble. And kudos to the NBA for putting the right plan in place to keep the staff, players, coaches, and everybody else involved, as well as themselves involved, and keeping everybody safe. And they didn't have any mishaps dealing with something like COVID-19.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I believe there was no positive test the whole time they were done. It was like 3.5 months.
Yeah. So they did a wonderful job, and I know before our guys left, the testing was very heavy. A lot of testing, a lot of isolation, which is very tough. But all parties involved did what they had to do to make sure that the NBA bubble was a success.
And spoke about the mental toughness part of it, and that kind of translates to my next question. Of course, you have to be mentally tough to make it to the NBA and go through the grind. You have to be talented. But when you're around these dudes on a daily basis, like, what do you see that reminds you, like, man, these guys are professional athletes for a reason?
That's a very great question, and what pops up into my mind right away. Obviously, these guys are the most talented basketball players on the planet. What separates them is the consistency and the daily work. Everybody says, they put on their social media and they talk about no days off. And, I'm grinding. I'm out here trying to bag and so on and so forth. But when it's a day they don't feel like working out, I just take it easy today. I'll get back to it tomorrow. Well, NBA players don't do that. Now, don't get me wrong. You're a fool if you work out every day and you don't get any rest. That's how you tear your body down. Work time is work time, and the good ones that I've seen, and it's a simple formula. They're working before practice and they're working after practice, and they're working consistently, and they have this is the big word for all you young players out there. This is the word I want you, if you don't remember anything else from this interview, they have a routine. What is your routine? what is your routine? Like if you have a routine, that could take your game to levels you'd never be seen before. Because if you have a routine, you know that you have to do that every day, and it's no escaping your routine. You may add to your routine, but you never take away from it, and you'll never not do your routine. I've been fortunate to be around some really, really good players over the last 5 years, and the really good ones, all-star status, they all had a routine.
Yeah, I really like that, man. It reminds me of something that I say to kids all the time when they looking at these NBA players and hoping to get there. And my favorite saying is I say everybody can't do this, and it's kind of an arrogant statement, and it's kind of a humble statement at the same time. It's just understanding like these dudes are at the top of the mountain, and there's been many people that has tried to get there, but it's not for everybody. And players and parents, hope you listening. Routine. Again, we're with Coach Chad Bell, skills and development coach of the Los Angeles Clippers, and he's dropping these great nuggets and explaining to you guys what it takes to be a professional athlete. With that being said, the current state of basketball, do you like where it's at? Do you see improvement? Do you see something that others might not see that's coming on the horizon?
I like where basketball is. I think basketball is evolving. Obviously, it's changing. It's becoming more and more positionalist game. So I definitely like where it is. One thing that I kind of bothers me at times is where in earlier times the game was focused around the big man. I was a former center, so that's bias talking. But here's where I love it. Bigs are allowed to do more. They're given more freedom. You have you have bigs who are able to stretch the floor, shoot threes now, put the ball on the deck, be playmakers. So that's the beauty of it. So there's a challenge there for all players to develop your skill set, your complete skill set. You know what I'm saying? So you have to be able. My formula is simple, because I'm connected to not just NBA players but young players too, who sometimes they might see me and they ask me questions. And my has always been from an offensive standpoint, you need to learn how to dribble, pass, and shoot. That's basic. That's at a basic level. You need to know how to dribble, pass, and shoot. You have to work on those basic skills every day. Every single day, my dribbling, my passing, and my shooting. Somebody say, well, how do I work on my passing? Well, that's easy for me. You have to be creative. If it's a wall near where you're working out, pass that wall. Pass at that wall. The ball's gonna come back to you. Can you come down the left side of the floor and deliver a left hand pass to the corner or to the wing? Can you drive with your left hand and throw a left-handed skip pass to the corner? You throw a basic swing pass, two-hand swing pass, and hit your target. Can you throw a basic bounce pass in the pocket on the pick and roll? Can you throw a bounce pass? Can you throw a lob pass? Simple things like that from a basic level that that you can focus on. So to answer your question again, I love it. Guys are developing crazy 3-point range now, and it's really, really fun to see. But one thing I would also say is it's not always just about offense. I think one critique I can give is just from what I've seen. I think it's a focus only on offense where players are not challenging themselves to be better defensively. Work on your defense. Learn how to be in a stance, play in a stance, sliding your feet, working on your defense, learning your positioning on the defensive level. So these are some of the things that I personally want to see trainers push these athletes to become better defensive players. Like we have a term called two-way players now, whereas I believe before, you know, damn near everybody was a two-way player, or you never heard that term because
exactly
you're required to play defense. So, two-way player, then it's a one-way player, and that's a problem.
Yeah, you have to. You don't get no breaks in basketball. You have to go back and play defense.
Yeah, we're not wearing helmets and pads here. You know, we're wearing jerseys and shorts. So
nothing against football, man. But it's funny that you say that. I hear players talk all the time about, man, I scored 20 or whatever. Like, well, how many did your man have? Well, he had 24. You lost that battle, man. Like, you lost it.
Yeah.
You lost that battle, man. Take pride in defending somebody. Man, that's how I got to play in college, man. I was a slow kid, man, but I took pride in, being able to defend somebody. And Speaking of basic stuff, it amazes me how kids don't know the 4 pivots.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm watching them, and like, dude, you got to learn how to reverse pivot out of a double team. You can't turn towards the double team. That's easily taken, but it's weird that you're saying that kind of stuff, man. I don't believe it. Two-way players, man. That's funny. that's the hot term. My next question. We kind of skipped over the importance of the big man. That was going to kind of be my next question, but you kind of already answered that. I'm gonna give you a chance here to kind of be, arrogant, about yourself. What separates you from any other coach that you've been around that you think of?
That's a hard question for me because, I just love this game and I'm trying to learn as much as possible. I have no idea what separates me. I really don't. I'm a big guy. They try to put me in a box and say I'm a big man coach. Well, that's not true. Mm-hmm. I work with guards too. I work with players. I love this game. I'm a big guy. I'm willing to get on the court, and I'm no way near, shape, or form ever was I talented as these guys. These guys are way too good for me. Mm-hmm. But I'm competitive, so I'll get on the court and bang around with the players. I have no problem with it. Like I said, I just love the game. I'm enthusiastic about it. I'm not saying this separates me, but I'm just saying who I am as a person. I'm energetic. I'm a motivator. I'm a worker. I believe in working every day. I don't believe in trying to take shortcuts. And one thing that I really learned from Doc Rivers, I'll tell you straight up and down, I don't know it all. I don't know everything. I try to learn from anybody. I don't care if you're an elementary school coach. I don't know more than you. You can know more than me. Matter of fact, run that play again so I can learn what that play is and tell me how to run it. Teach me. So one thing that I want this game to have more in terms of trainers and coaches and players is humility. And I learned that a great deal of that from Doc Rivers. Doc is Doc. Doc has a few reasons to be arrogant if he wanted to. I've never seen Doc Rivers ever be arrogant, and he's always humble and he's always trying to learn. And I learned that lesson from him tremendously. So like I said, is be humble and don't think you're better than somebody. You can always learn. And if you know a little more, guess what? Turn around and teach somebody because somebody taught you.
Mm-hmm. Well, that might be your gift right there that separates you from others, being, having some humility about yourself. So
absolutely,
that might be it right there. Besides Doc, you've been around it for a while. Who are your other, coaching influencers?
One coach that I got a chance to meet a couple of times, and may he rest in peace, is John Thompson. I was able to meet him at a very young age, and I never got a chance to play for him, but I just admired the man. He had a presence that dominated the room, and people. I'm fortunate to know people that were very close to him. He just wasn't a coach, but he was a mentor. He's a father-like figure. And he inspired young men's lives, and he has left a ton of fruit behind. from his players that are doing wonderful things that I played for him to this day. And that shows you a lot about who he is. So I was always inspired, influenced by Coach John Thompson growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Another coaches that influenced me was my high school coach, Ed Azam. I played for a coach named Ed Azam. I like to call him the legendary Ed Azam at Westchester High School in Los Angeles.
Okay.
He took a program that was kind of a doormat in the late 70s, and he turned it into a powerhouse. And he's been coaching there for 40 years now, and he's still going, and he's still and he's still teaching, and he's turned out a tremendous amount of players, and a lot of his players have gone on to play Division I college basketball and played overseas, played in the NBA, and I always say, you can tell a really good coach when his players become coaches.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us, including myself, was influenced by Coach Sam. I learned a lot from him, and he taught me a lot. And then also just growing up in the Los Angeles area, UCLA is UCLA. So one of the people my mother admired was John Wooden. So it was times where I came home from school and I looked on my bed and it's a John Wooden book. And, so I was able to read some of his books and, learn about his principles that he instilled into his players. And I was very fortunate to, attend UCLA camp as a kid a couple of times through my AAU program. And, they spoke about those principles. And then I was able to meet him once I was in college playing in the John Wooden Classic with the University of Nevada. So those are some of the coaches. That's just the name of a few. I can go on and
tip of the iceberg. Yeah.
About coaches. So those are the fours I just wanted to hit on.
Yeah. Coaches just have a certain impact on people's lives, and that you never know how somebody's going to turn out, but because of that coach has kind of developed you into what you are. Being in LA, those LA legends out there like Baron Davis and I mean California, was it Gary Payton? I think some other dudes. Who was the biggest type of legend that you can think of that was out there?
Oh, it's so many, man. It's so many. Growing up, he's older than me, but growing up, my generation, my era, we really looked up to BD, man. Shout out to BD. That's my dog right there, man. He was like our big homie, growing up, and I was very fortunate to watch his career go the way it went. Watching him at Crossroads High in Santa Monica, then going on to UCLA, putting on shows there, and then having success in the NBA. It's unfortunate that he had to deal with some injuries where he didn't have the lift of career that he wanted to, but he was able to influence many people with his game. So when I was coming up, BD, that man, like I said, shout out to BD, man. He was the big homie, man, and he made us want to, reach the level of success he was, reaching, and just coming up, I was able to see Tayshaun Prince. Shout out to Tayshaun Prince. He had from Compton Dominguez, watching him play in high school, doing some really good things, and of course his NBA Kentucky years, being a college All-American and going on to the NBA and winning a championship with the Detroit Pistons, and now he's working in the front office in Memphis. So, and then also, my hometown Inglewood. Shout out to Paul Pierce, man. Growing up, Paul was the guy, man. Where I'm from, Paul was our hero, man. He was the dude. He was always the same kind of player where, when he needed to take over a game, he would take over a game, and he would put Inglewood high on his shoulders.
Absolutely.
Turned out to be a McDonald's All-American and a college All-American at Kansas. And then, we know the rest with his Hall of Fame NBA career, winning a championship in Boston with the Celtics. So those are some names, just to name a few, man. We got so many, and then you got guys now. You got the Russell Westbrooks of the world, James Harden, who's and James Harden, who both are out there where you're at. You got DeMar DeRozan. You got so many guys. Tyson Chandler, another guy. I came up with. It's just a hotbed, man. So many guys from the Southern California area that have came out of here and are playing in the NBA.
Yeah, that's crazy. And Paul Pierce was kind of who I modeled my game after. I wasn't very quick, but I can get it done just enough. Get it done a little bit, man. And going back to these coaches, you spoke of 4, and then now you're doing the same thing. So, what is your biggest hope? What is your biggest joy that you get, from coaching?
The biggest joy I get from coaches is to I don't have a real job. Coaching is a job though, but I don't call it a job. I call it a career. Matter of fact, I don't call it a career. I call it a lifestyle. It's a career too. So I get a joy out of being able to do what I absolutely love. I believe that I was born to do what I do. I believe that the Most High God made me 7 foot for a reason. My legs are too big to be sitting in a cubicle too long. So I really get a joy out of what I do, and I've developed so many relationships, not just from coaching, just playing the game of basketball, being in the game, involved in the game of basketball. I really get a joy out of the relationships that I build with other coaches and also other players. You game long enough, you're gonna bump into players that you used to coach, that you coach with, and it's just like a time to reminisce on old times. It also builds your network, and then when it builds your network, it builds your reputation. So basketball and coaching is just a gift, man.
It's like knowing something you love, you never consider it work. It's just, it is what it is. And what is, I guess this was a question earlier from somebody that I was watching. They want to know, do you have plans of becoming a head coach, and then do you plan on bringing some of the guys that you know to come with you?
Yeah, I would love the opportunity to become a head coach one day. I mean, that's a big goal of mine, to have that opportunity to be the leader of a team. It will be tremendous, and I think right now I'm being prepared for that. This is a stage of my process, and I'll have that opportunity. And of course, this question says, "Will you bring some of the guys you know with you?" Of course.
That's how it works. That's how it goes.
I'm about loyalty. I'm about bringing those who I'm connected with me, and that's just how it works. You know what I'm saying? So I know that I would want them to do the same with me. So, I gotta have those that I trust with me. In the mud, getting it. So.
Yeah, I totally understand. And that's how you spoke about the networking and building relationship stuff. It goes back and forth, hand to hand. One more question for you. Your favorite athlete of all time?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Everybody got one.
Oh, man, that's a tough one. You know what? If I got to just give one answer, I'm going to say Muhammad Ali.
Okay.
Because Muhammad Ali, I admire him so much because he had to face so much and he had to overcome so much. And I appreciate that Muhammad Ali was unapologetic about his thoughts and how he felt. And he, at the end of the day, he spoke the truth and he spoke the real. whether it was smiled upon or frowned upon. That's who Muhammad Ali was, and he's just he was just an outstanding human being, not just a boxer. Of course, he's one of the best entertaining sports athletes ever, and was arguably the best boxer ever. But also, he was a man amongst the man of the people, and he fought and he stood up for what he believed in, and and that's very commendable, especially with what he had to face and what he had to deal with.
Yeah, and they didn't love it at first, and then after he got older, that's when you see all the love starting to come. Mm-hmm. Same thing with, I think the guy went to your college too, Colin Kaepernick. He's kind of going through the same thing. So that's a great athlete to kind of look up to. I got a surprise for you, and I'm going through Twitter, and you mentioned earlier that you'll get out there with the players and stuff like that. And I found this video of you and a guy that used to dominate down here in Houston.
I got it.
All right, man. What's going on there, man? how you let Sam get you with the okie doke, man?
Hey, y'all already know H-Town. You know, Sam is very crafty. He got all the tricks, all the tricks of the trade, man. That's funny, man. I don't even know how you got that video, but that's funny. You know, me and Sam, that's my really, really good friend. That's my big homie. We play one-on-one every day. and we talk a lot of trash. We talk a lot of trash. So you call one of our sessions where we like to go back and forth, man. So shout out to Sam, man. Hey, I tell you this, and he'll probably tell you, he probably disagree. The last summer we had to, play. Of course, things was normal then. Oh man, I was tearing him up all summer long. He didn't play me no more. He didn't want to play. And I got some coaches that'll back that up, what I'm saying, but he didn't want to play me no more, man. My mid-range jumper was just pure, man. I was trying to do a Sam Cassell on Sam Cassell.
Exactly. I know for sure that's all he does is talk. Like, so it's funny.
Man, me and him have a lot of fun together, man, and I've learned so much from him. And he can still go. You see how he busted me up on that one play, went underneath my arms.
Yeah. Oh man, craftiness, man. But so one more thing, man, and I've asked every person that's been on here about this. You're out in California, in LA. The Kobe Bryant situation. Like, what were your thoughts when it happened, when you got the news? Like, you remember where you were?
Oh man, I was heartbroken, man. I was in Orlando. We were getting ready to head to the arena to play the Magic, do our pregame workouts, and I got downstairs in the hotel, and one of my coworkers asked me, "Hey, did you hear about Kobe?" And the previous night, I had watched Kobe congratulate LeBron. I think he surpassed a certain amount of points. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
And I started to say, yeah, I saw him on I saw his Twitter where he congratulated And before I could get it out, she told me what happened. And I just was stunned, man. I was in a daze.
Yeah.
I was in a daze because, growing up here, I remember when Kobe Bryant was, drafted and then traded to the Lakers, and that was a big thing. So us LA folks, we watched Kobe Bryant grow up,
Mm-hmm.
the person that he became, and it just shook me up. And it's one of those things where the more you heard about what happened, it just made you sick to your stomach. My condolences to not only Kobe Bryant, his wife, and their family, and them losing Gigi, but also the other families involved who passed away in that tragic accident, man. And it's just, even sad to this day to just to think about. But no doubt, the legacy he left. I don't know if you've been out here before, but Kobe Bryant is so loved out here.
Mm-hmm.
And, even before he passed, he had murals all over the city. Now they're everywhere. They got this saying, "Legends never die."
Mm-hmm.
His legacy will never die, and I just, I feel so bad for those families that, like I said, lost loved ones in that tragic accident. And Kobe will always be LA basketball, man. Kobe Bryant, man, he's the king of LA basketball, man, forever. So.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, it's one of those times in history that you never forget. I think tomorrow makes like 10 months, I think, or 9, something like that. And just ever since then, 2020 has been to crap.
Yeah.
But I'm going to end it there. I mean, I really appreciate you coming on, man, and dropping this knowledge to the viewers, and giving me opportunity to kind of holler at you and whatnot. But if you got anything else to say, now's the time.
I just appreciate you having me on, man. It's very humbling to be requested to be able to speak. I don't take these moments for granted, and I just want to encourage all you young hoopers out there, continue to be great, continue to work on your craft, and like I said, write down your routine. What's your daily routine? And when you hit that bed at night, ask yourself one question: did I get better today? If the answer is no, you got work to do. And if your answer is yes, you still got work to do. And keep going and keep striving and being the greatest, not only basketball player you can be, but also person you could be. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, man. For 20 Game Sports, we out. Y'all follow Coach Bell on Twitter. His Twitter info is up there. So holla at him. Man, I appreciate you.